What's up, guys? So this is our first presentation about our new nutrition program. So what I'm going to talk about is the company we're partnering with to help guide us through the process of launching a new program, and this is the company we're going to be working with throughout moving forward. And then I'm also going to talk about some steps you can take today in improving your own nutrition. So getting straight into it, I think this picture basically sums up how people feel about nutrition when they go about looking up kind of help and solutions online themselves. There's a lot of programs out there that are completely different. They'd be like, presenting conflicting results and stuff like that. One program tells you to do this, another one might tell you to do the exact opposite. There's a lot of information about cutting carbs, keto, that kind of thing. And generally, I think this leads to a lot of frustration for people. So what we're trying to do is get rid of this sense of frustration, and we're going to guide each individual through the process of improving their nutrition. And the company we're partnering with to do that is called HSN. So I did a lot of research out there with various different companies, and the reason I decided to go with HSN is because I really like their approach. Basically, it's a habit-based approach. So we start off with each individual building small little steps. They have an app that we can communicate with to every person that's on the program. So like, the coach is in your pocket every day and reminding you to, build whatever habit we've started to set out. And generally what we're doing is slowly kind of helping people take control of their health by gradually making a shift in their lifestyle. So the first step you can take today in terms of your nutrition is actually to shift your mindset. So when I was studying my nutrition course, there was a lot of talk about mindfulness, and mindfulness is such kind of like a cringe-worthy word in my head, but maybe that's because of my own preconceptions about it. But basically, like call it whatever you want: Jedi mind training, mindfulness, better mindset, whatever. The way you think about food has to change, or even better yet, the way you want to think about your own success also has to change. I'll give you an example, right? In a CrossFit class, I've seen some people doing something like a difficult movement like a handstand push-up, and before they've even finished the handstand push-up, trying to struggle to get out of rep, they're already shaking their head because they're so negative about their own attempts to get it right, or their own abilities, or maybe they're worried about other people watching them struggle, so they just kind of shake their head and be like, oh my god, I have to do better, I know I have to do better, and all this kind of crack. But if you're going to be constantly negative like that, your progress is going to be absolutely minimal. I'm a thorough believer in the phrase, the person who says they can't and the person who says they can are both right. So you got to be that person who thinks you can make changes and just start thinking more positively about your goals and what you're trying to change in your own life, especially when it comes to nutrition. So if you start out with a positive mindset and you're like, okay, I'm going to grab the bull by the horns, I'm really going to try and make a change here to my life, you will be starting out the right way instead of being like, oh Jesus, this is very hard, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to undertake all this. You got to start out with a positive mindset, otherwise you're shooting yourself in the foot from the beginning. So also on mindset, right, this is a great image because basically people think they need a diet, and what they really need is a change in their lifestyle. So generally what happens if people go on a diet, if we hand them a diet plan and be like, okay, this is your diet, you're going to stick to this, off you go. Generally 90% of people who start a diet fall off within the first couple of weeks. So they fall off the wagon, they just don't stick to it, and they forget about it. And that's why, like, people who try diets, like, people generally don't try one diet, they will try a few diets. I think on average it's something like a person will try 3 diets a year, something like that, and they just kind of fall off every time. What people really need is a change in lifestyle, and what we're going to try and do with people is basically do this through like a habit-based approach, building little habits each week, and at the end of like 12 weeks you have a major shift in your lifestyle. So like the idea is you'll start off with something simple, like for the first week try and drink 2.5 liters of water every day. And the reason we might say that to someone is, let's just say we have a guy called John. John drinks 6 cans of Coke every day, and we're like, okay, John, we are going to forget about the Coke for a second, right? We're not going to tell you to, stop drinking the Coke, even though that's obviously what should happen. What we're going to do instead is we're going to drink 2.5 liters of water every day. So you have to do this. This is the habit we want you to start. make sure you're like ticking that box every single day. And then the idea is that because we're not having like a restrictive mindset when it comes to our food, and we're adding something in instead, basically John starts drinking the 2.5 liters of water every day, and because he's well hydrated, he doesn't feel the need to drink Coke. Now, obviously, if you're drinking Coke, there's like a sugar craving that goes along with that. Maybe he's getting a little caffeine hit from the Coke as well, so that's a little bit addictive too. But if you're drinking 2.5 liters of water, there isn't going to be much more room for like 6 cans of Coke. So maybe he goes from 6 down to 1 or 2 cans a day, and that's an immediate improvement. Then we can worry about cutting out the Coke altogether at a later stage. But instead of going from 6 to 0, because it's obviously bad, we're going from 6 down to like 1 or 2 cans, and he's well hydrated now instead. So that's kind of the approach we're going to take with people week by week. We're going to try and like get rid of a restrictive mindset, but we're going to try and make small changes that are going to have a big impact on their lifestyle. And the idea is you keep these habits going long after the first 12 weeks. So it's not a diet, it's like a shift in lifestyle. And that's the mindset people have to change starting out. Okay, next thing to talk about then, right, in terms of lifestyle and mindset, right, you can see here that we have a pie chart, and nutrition is just one segment of the pie, okay? So all parts have, like, are weighted equally, they're equal in size. So nutrition is the same kind of, has the same level of importance as stress, sleep, exercise, your support system, and your lifestyle. So, like, again, people, might think exercise is the answer to losing weight. So if they were looking at, if their mindset in terms of losing weight, exercise might take up a huge part of the pie. Nutrition might take up like the other half of the pie, and there might be like nothing else but exercise and nutrition. But that's actually not true, right? Again, you have to shift your mindset thinking about your lifestyle. So, like, let's just take sleep for example. My nutrition might be absolutely on point, my exercise might be really good too, but if my sleep is bad, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to try and make any significant changes in terms of like weight loss or anything like that. So like sleep is extremely important. Like if I'm only getting like 4 hours sleep a night, there's a good chance that I'm actually going to be waking up and like be a little bit hungrier and just spend more time eating instead of like sleeping. Like you want to be sleeping a minimum of 7 hours a night. 8 is ideal, 9 is good too. Well, 10 you're probably wasting your time, but somewhere between like 7 to 9 hours a night is what we should be aiming for. Like sleep is super important. Then just take exercise as an example. Like, if your sleep and nutrition are really on point, but you're not doing any exercise, your progress won't be as good as it could be by a long shot. Like you can't out-train a bad diet or anything like that, but exercise is very important, and you have to kind of get moving and move well to get your metabolism kick-started and also keep like a healthy body. Stress is really important as well. If you're stressed off your mind, like your body's producing a lot of cortisol and stuff like that, and that will get you bogged down, and that's not going to be good when it comes to like trying to make positive changes in your life. So stress carries like an equal amount of the pie in this situation. Your support system is really important as well. So you want to make sure the people around you are supporting your decision when it comes to like making changes, right? So for example, if I have 5 friends and they're all pissheads and I'm trying to give up the drink, it's going to be much harder if I keep hanging around with them. They're going out every weekend and I'm like, Jesus, I'd love a fucking pint right now. But, I'm trying to get off the drink because I might be a alcoholic or something like that, and they're all going out in the piss. Like I'm just going to have to kind of like at the very least get support from them, and they shouldn't be texting me asking me to go out in the piss with them, or like I might have to distance myself from those people as well on the weekends. Now I'm not telling anyone to cut out their friends or anything like that, but like you have to make sure you surround yourself with the right people when it comes to making changes to your nutrition and lifestyle. Another example might be your husband or wife or your significant other. Like if all they want to do is sit around and get takeaways every night and you don't want to do that, that is going to make everything a whole lot harder. Now again, not telling anyone to get a divorce or break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, but you have to get them on board, and they have to be on board with basically what you're doing. No question. Like you want to eat healthy, and you're going to start, prepping your meals, cooking your food and stuff like that. But they don't give a shit. They're like, nah, I'm just going to get some takeaway, and like you've the smell of takeaway in the house and stuff like that while you're trying to cook healthy food. That's going to make everything a hell of a lot harder. So get them on board. Just be like, look, I'm doing this, do this with me, for God's sake, you said you love me, just make this change with me, something like that. Support system is very important. And then obviously lifestyle, like I've said earlier, you want to make a change in your lifestyle. It's not just a diet plan, it's kind of a shift in what you're doing with yourself in general. So just want to reiterate the saying I said earlier, right? Those who say they can and those who say they can't are both right. You have to shift your mindset when it comes to what you're going to be doing with your nutrition and your own ability to make a change. You've got to come in starting with a good mindset, a positive mindset, and you're going to dedicate yourself for a significant length of time and be like, I can do this, I'm going to get to start it, and basically, like, don't let any doubt or dispel any doubt that creeps into your mind, you know? Now, you don't have to be like crazy, super blind positive, but at the same time, you've got to have the right mindset. And basically, this graphic, guys, sums up nicely how we're going to make changes with people. Or if anyone even wants to make changes themselves, you have your step at the bottom, in the bottom left, and you have your goal there on the top right, and you don't just jump from bottom straight up to the top. What you got to do is take a bunch of intermediate small steps in between that'll all add up and make a significant change to help you reach your goal in the end. And this graphic just greatly represents what exactly we're trying to do with people, or if people want to go away and try and make change themselves, the approach they should be taking. Little consistent steps, bit by bit, to get you to your goal. This is kind of like the framework we're going to set out with people when they're working with us. Basically, in the top, the big green box, you have your 3-month goal. That's like the end goal. So let's just say I want to fit into a certain dress size or something like that, you know. I'm a size, 14, want to get down to a size 10 or size 12 or something like that. Or maybe I'm a guy and I want to fit back into my old suits. Like during lockdown or whatever, I have put on a bunch of fat. My suits don't fit anymore. I'm going to a wedding, a friend's wedding, and like I don't want to buy a new suit, but I want to fit into my old suit. I like my suit. My suit was tailor-made for me back in the day. It was expensive. I want to fit into that again. I don't want to have to go buying a new wardrobe for special occasions. I want to fit into my old suit. So that's like the 3-month goal, right? And basically what we're going to do is break it down into 3 separate months, each with an individual smaller goal. And then we're going to work out the major habit changes that are needed to reach those goals. And each week we have an action step below that in red. So you want to start off with your first action step in the first week, keep that going, add in a second step in the week 2, a second step in the week 3 and week 4, and then hopefully you've built like a significant, brave new habit to help you reach your first goal by the end of the month. And then, like, as you can see, right, that adds up to quite a bit over the space of 3 months. Like, it starts off small week 1, pretty small week 2, week 3 isn't too bad, but then week 4, like, you have made good changes, okay, in the first month. And you want to keep that going then the second month, the third month. And if you look at this as a whole, there's a lot of change happening in a person's life. And that's basically the approach that we're going to take. Big changes over a long period of time to help everyone reach their goal. Step 2, find your tribe. Look at all these beautiful people in that photo. So step 2, guys, is kind of what I was talking about earlier with your significant other. So now, we're not telling anyone to abandon their friends, get divorced, any of that crack. Instead, why don't you go about seeking out the right people who are in the same mindset as yourself? So we're all going to a gym together. Get in contact with other members in the gym who are undertaking like some change when it comes to nutrition or something like that. Or, you're around a bunch of healthy people, you're all doing classes together. Why not like see if someone out there is available to go for a walk or something like that? And you are kind of surrounding yourself with people who, like I said, have the same mindset. Goals are maybe somewhat aligned with yours. They don't have to be identical, but like, you want to get fit and healthy together, and it just makes everything a whole lot easier. This is kind of part of the reason why group classes are so successful, is because like people like training in a group together. Like personal training is still great and there's still definitely need for it, but I think by and large people kind of prefer like a group class situation. And this is part of the reason, like everyone comes in with the same goals in mind. We're all in this together, we're getting a sweat on together, we're trying to lose weight together, that kind of thing. So try and surround yourself with the right people. And even if that is like, I don't know, finding a group online with people who have the same mindset, or better still, like I said earlier, is trying to get your significant other to align their kind of goals, lifestyle, a little bit along the lines of what you're trying to do. Like, for example, let's just say you'd spend a lot of time in on the weekend with your other half. Be like, okay, I want to go for a hike this weekend. You want to come with me? Try and get them going with you to make it a little bit easier that way, or make plans to do something like that. Make plans to do an outdoor activity. On Monday or Tuesday during the week, be like, hey, honey, on Saturday or Sunday, you want to do like X, Y, and Z, maybe like go to a climbing wall or something like that for the first time. Like I said, hike a mountain, go for like a swim, not necessarily in the freezing cold Irish seaside, but maybe in like, a pool or something like that together. Be like, look, do you want to do this together this weekend, and try and plan some outdoor activities that way. So that when you surround yourself with the right people, or change like the mindset of your significant other along with yourself, or at least kind of get them along the line or aligned with your goals, it makes everything a hell of a lot easier. Because basically the five people you spend the most of your time with do have a significant influence on you. And like I said, if you hang around with 5 assholes, chances are you're a bit of an asshole yourself. That's just kind of the way it works, because human beings are tribal. We've been, we've evolved that way over hundreds and thousands of years. So it doesn't just change in the 21st century, and still doesn't change even after everything we've been through lockdown and being kind of isolated that way. We've still evolved to be the way they are, and your tribe has a significant influence on like who you are and the way you act and stuff like that. Okay, real obvious step here, right? But step 3 is to take action. So I think we've all heard the saying before, diet starts on Monday. I always say that to myself as well, joking too. But like, the time is now when it comes to taking action. So if you're watching this video, take some action right now. For example, if I am starting a diet on Monday, like really action would start on the Sunday when I do my weekly shopping, get the meal prep in or something like that, if that's what I'm doing. That's kind of like the approach you have to take, as in, do it now, start right now. What are you waiting for? Like any step at all will actually work when it comes to taking action. So start off with like some small daily habits you can maybe change yourself. For example, one might be bedtime. Get to bed at whatever o'clock every night, and try and do that consistently to start off. And maybe that's the habit you need to build for the first week to try and get your sleep on point. Something like that. Like, if I spend a lot of time on my phone before I go to bed, maybe make it a point to put your phone away for like at least an hour before I go to bed. Little habits like that. Tiny little things like that will have a huge effect in your life, because if you're staring into a screen in bed, scrolling on Instagram or whatever it is, that is keeping you awake, that is eating into your sleep time, and that will have a knock-on effect the following day. You'll be really tired, you'll be groggy, things will be like a little bit more difficult, because we need our sleep. So that can be a simple but powerful habit that you can make a change yourself. And just concentrate on doing that for the first week. That'll be how we're going to improve our sleep, get our sleep on point. And, then the second week you can add in something else, So small little changes like that are the best way to start taking action yourself. It doesn't have to be a massive overhaul of your whole life on day one. You don't have to be like, right, here's my new diet plan. I'm going to hit the gym for 2 hours. I'm going to get 9 hours of sleep. All of this stuff doesn't have to happen on the very first day. Taking action can be doing something really like with a small, simple daily habit. And just in terms of taking action, right, I'm going to lay out 3 principles now that you can do when it comes to taking action, right? So the first principle is add more whole foods into your diet. So next time you're shopping, get into that part of the store that has like loads of, vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. Takes up a lot of the store, probably like the emptiest part of the shop. But basically, you want to think of it like this, right? You want to look back on the previous week and think to yourself, did I cook 90% of the food I ate myself? At least 80, preferably 90% of the food I ate myself. And what I mean by that is, that includes stuff like getting takeaway, going to a deli, eating at a restaurant, all that kind of stuff. That's all food you didn't cook yourself. Like if I'm eating out at a lot at a restaurant, generally the rule of thumb is the chefs in the restaurant will add as much like either salt, sugar or butter to try and make something taste as good as possible. And you don't know really like And like what I mean by that is if you cooked the equivalent at home, you could probably make a much healthier version, because at a restaurant the chef wants, which is fair enough too, the chef wants the food to taste as good as possible, and he does that by adding either more seasoning or more fat or something like that to make the food taste better. And if you did the same at home, you could probably get something that tastes almost as good, but that would be a lot healthier and a lot low calorie, if that makes sense. And when you're cooking your own food, you're bound to use more whole foods anyway, And I know I've got a picture of vegetables up here, but whole foods also include like meats and stuff like that, cheeses and healthy fats or whatever. Like every person's going to be different, but whole foods anyway. If the food, a lot of food in stores today would be like ready made as well. That's something you want to avoid. That doesn't count as whole food. So if I have like a ready made meal that I pop into a microwave, that isn't something I've made myself. And whole foods as well are super cheap, much cheaper than actually buying like the ready made version. Mightn't seem that way at the start, but basically you will get like a lot more volume of food and in terms of bang for your buck than you will if you're like buying, a tray that you pop into a microwave, that kind of way. I know there are some ready-made meals that are healthy, but you shouldn't be eating these the whole time either. That's kind of basically if you're stuck in a situation and you want to get like a high protein ready-made meal, and you pop it into the microwave, that would be like not preferential at all. You do want to get into the habit of making your own food anyway, because if you start off relying on microwave meals like that, you'll come to the shop one day, there won't be any available, and then you'll get something like that's not as nutritious, basically shittier, and that's kind of how you start falling off the wagon. So just buy more whole foods. A very simple thing, if the food is in your fridge, in your presses, you're way more likely to eat it, Food waste is a terrible thing. I think generally people are against food waste, especially if they have spent the money on the foods themselves. So buy the food, and buying the food is such a simple step, because once you buy the food, you're way more likely to cook it. So yeah, buy more whole foods, and that's a great way to add them into your diet. On that as well, guys, there's something called the plate method, which is basically, as you see in front of you, you want your plate being like half of it filled with vegetables, a quarter filled with like starchy carbs, and then a quarter of it filled with your meats or proteins or something like that. Now this will change if you're a vegan or vegetarian. I'm not going to touch on that today. That's a conversation for that individual. But basically what you want is a lot of vegetables, starchy carbs, and something high in protein. And there's like a little bit of fat on the side if people kind of feel they need that. But the plate method is a great way to quickly quantify how much of whatever you should be eating. So like in terms of the Irish diet anyway, generally like half the plate would be filled with potatoes or something like that. If it was, in my house back in the day when my parents were making me food, half the plate would be potatoes, quarter of the plate would be vegetables, and a quarter would be meat. Not too bad, but like way too much carbs for like someone who wants to, lose weight and improve their diet. We probably should have way more vegetables, and vegetables done properly take up a lot of space on the plate, and they will fill you up as well. So this is a very quick and easy method to kind of see what quantities of food you should be eating on your plate, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Like as you see, like a quarter of the plate is starchy carbs, sweet potatoes, beetroots or whatever, or not beetroots, sorry, butternut squash or whatever that might be, or potatoes or legumes and stuff like that. So like refried beans or whatever. And you're not cutting out carbs at all, because like I said, this is a lifestyle change going forward. You don't want to cut out carbs completely. You want to have the old carbohydrates back in your life, and especially if you do CrossFit, because CrossFit is a carbohydrate fuel sport. You'll be absolutely knackered the whole time if you're on a keto diet. So yeah, that's not what we're promoting here. But yes, this is a quick and easy way to kind of quantify how much whole foods you should be eating every day with each meal. Okay, second principle, focus on balance. So protein, carbs, and fats, right? So going back to the plate method again, you'll see that this is like just a quick way to quantify the amount of food you should be eating, right? If you want to get into the nitty gritty of protein, carbs, and fats, it should be like 30% of your calories come from protein, 40% from carbs, and 30% of your calories come from fats. But there's a big difference in the amount of calories, and not like a third of the food you're eating. So what I mean is, like, if 30% of my calories are coming from fats, that quantity of food is going to look way, way, way smaller than the protein. Okay? It's not like a third of the food I'm eating is fat. That's not what it means at all. So, and just like I was saying earlier as well, we don't want people like cutting carbs. Now just going back to the Irish diet again, a lot of people would have had great success cutting out potatoes and bread. But that is generally because they eat too much potatoes and too much bread. And when people cut out potatoes and bread, they start being a bit more like dynamic and interesting with their food. So instead of having like a meat and two veg, and one of those vegetables would be potato taking up half the plate, they start cooking like rice dishes and stuff like that. And they start finding alternatives and adding in more vegetables into their diet. So, and just by adding in more vegetables into your diet, you're like reducing, not consciously or not directly, I suppose, you're reducing the amount of calories that you're going to get from starchy carbs, and you're getting really nutritious food into your diet. And it's that kind of shift that makes people lose weight, instead of like being really restrictive in terms of like cutting out bread and potatoes. Another example would be like, if people have a snack, they might have like butter and toast and stuff like that, which would be a good snack if you were like planning on going to the gym 2 hours later. But like generally that's not the case. Like they are just having butter and toast, and it's like a snack they have before they go to bed. So instead of doing that, if they have cut out bread, they'll find like a healthier alternative, maybe something that's like a protein kind of snack. It could be like some, cooked chicken or something like that they're eating instead. And that ends up being way lower calorie and really high in protein. And that's all kind of improving their diet. So that's what I'm talking about, or that's why people might find success when they cut out the carbs. But what we really want is, balance and kind of learning about the best times to eat different things. And when you're doing it correctly, like you don't cut out carbs. Carbs have their purpose in your diet as well. Like they would be used around the time you're eating or around the time you're exercising, before and after, to kind of fuel your workout and your recovery. And then fats also have like their role to play too. They're very important for hormone balance. They'll fill you up and keep you going like for longer. So if I have some fats in the morning and I'm not working out till the evening, like the fats will help fill me up for kind of that first half of the day. And like that's the purpose that they can serve as well. And also it's important for flavor. Like fat is kind of where the flavor is. So you don't cut out anything on a proper balanced diet. Everything has a role to play. The third principle then, and this is a really obvious one, is limit the amount of sugar you consume daily. So I had a person come into my gym before, and this guy used to eat 3 bars of chocolate every day. And just on his own initiative, what he did was he cut out that sugar he consumed every day, that extra sugar. And in 6 months, he lost 2 stone just by making that one change. So, like, obviously, 3 bars of chocolate is way too much. People shouldn't be eating that anyway. But, like, sugar is addictive and it's hard to cut out straight away like that. But that led to like a huge amount of success just by cutting out the sugar out of his diet, or the extra sugar. Like, obviously fruits and stuff like that are fine, but extra sugar like that can make a huge difference. And, let's just say I'm working out in the gym for an hour a day, and, I could be burning like around 400 to 800 calories. But if I'm eating like, a dessert after dinner every day, that's like a bit of chocolate, and that could be easily like 400 or 500 calories too. It's really going to stifle my progress if I'm trying to lose weight. So just by cutting out the amount of sugar as well, you can see a lot of progress in terms of reaching your goals and weight loss and that kind of thing. And it regulates your insulin in your body better. You don't get these insulin spikes and energy spikes and stuff like that when you consume like that extra sugar. The best tip here as well is just don't buy the sugar and have it in your house at home, because if there's like a bar of chocolate in the press, I'm going to eat that bar of chocolate. It's going to be calling me after I have my dinner. So if it's not in the house, I won't go looking for it. So just don't buy it in the first place, and that's a great way to limit the amount. So this is, again, going back to like your support system guys, your other half. Tell them not to buy the sugar because you are trying to make a change to your life. So, this just also kind of reinforces that idea to getting them on board as well. So yeah, limit the amount of sugar you consume daily. Very obvious, but very hard to do. And that's pretty much it, guys. So just going through a few questions about, or a few frequently asked questions as well, just to finish things off, right? What should I eat around my workout? Basically, carbs and protein is the answer here, right? So everyone's going to be slightly different, but I recommend if you're coming to a CrossFit class, eating about 2 hours before your workout. That way you're sure that your muscles are fueled, the food is also digested. You're not like hammering a protein bar in the car on the way down to the gym. There's only one person I've met who trains in the gym who is a very fit individual as well, but has to have something in their stomach. And like there are exceptions to every rule. So this person needs to have something in their stomach while they're training, and I get that. That works for them. That would definitely not work for me. So what you want, guys, is like carbs and protein before your workout, about 2 hours before your workout, and you definitely want carbohydrates after your workout as well, because that's something that's forgotten about. Like your muscles have glycogen in them that is used to fuel them when you're working out, and that glycogen is expelled when you're working out. Expelled, is that the right word? Well, it's gone anyway after your workout, or it's low, and you want to replenish that. So that's why you need some carbohydrates after your workout. That's something that's forgotten about a lot. Now, obviously, you need protein as well to help your workouts, or to help your muscles recover after the workout. That's important too, but shout out to the carbohydrates, because they're often overlooked as well. And fat generally doesn't have any real use around the time of your working out. Eat your fats, your healthy fats, at a different time of the day. So protein and carbs around your workout, but not fat. Next question. I don't love veggies. What should I do? So you can't, this is again is like going back to like your shift in the mindset, right? You can't just be like, I'm not eating vegetables, end of story. You have to find a way to cook vegetables in a way that you will like. So basically, think of like roasting vegetables with some seasoning on them, stir frying some vegetables. You got to find a way that you can introduce some vegetables into your diet. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of vegetables out there. So you got to find something that you are going to like. Like even long stem broccoli tastes very different from normal broccoli. Stuff like that. There's different lettuces, different cabbages out there. You got to find something that you will like. And that just basically means going away and experimenting and getting different seasonings. Seasoning vegetables is fantastic. And like once there isn't like a lot of sugar in the seasoning, that's a great way to make it taste different and then just eat it. So you just got to find a way that you like cooking vegetables, or you like seasoning vegetables, that's going to suit your palate. You can't go through life trying to lose weight and just not eating vegetables. You have to find a way. Where should you start? Basically, just like I was saying earlier, start with like a small little habit to make a change, but also find yourself a coach, right? So if you're really struggling, get on to us, guys. We will sort you out. We will hold your hand and walk you through the process of getting started. We'll educate you on what you should be eating, what works well for you. We'll test your biometrics, all that kind of thing, and do that intermittently to see how your progress is. And that's basically the best place to start. So if you're unsure, get in contact with us if you're not going to go to journey alone. The time is now, folks, and that's pretty much everything I have to say today. So our program, guys, is starting the first week of November. We're going to do free consultations first. We'll be asking everyone for a minimum of a 12-week commitment, because change isn't going to happen quickly at all. You're not going to see like massive changes in the first 4 weeks or something like that. You'll only see big changes in the first like 12 weeks, because we want slow, sustainable progress to be made, instead of like a drastic overhaul where you're dropping a load of weight on a crash diet. You come off the diet and basically the weight goes back on again. So we want a minimum of 12 weeks of commitment, and we will keep working with people after that if they wish. Everyone's going to be different in that regard, but after 12 weeks you will have made a great start and significant changes, and that's how it's going to go in the beginning. And that's pretty much it, guys. Just a little quote here to finish things off: the only impossible journey is the one you never begin. And that is all I have to say today.